everybody. Welcome to another episode of Elves, Rings, and Nerdy Things. We continue our foray into Season 3 of The Legend of Vox Machina as we begin to wrap up Season 3 and look forward to Andor Season 2, which comes out later in April. Sam, how are you?
Well, I'm doing pretty well. Just enjoying, hopefully, the last gasps of Michigan winter before things turn into glorious spring.
We have our first 70-degree day in Washington tomorrow.
Nice.
I know, I'm looking forward to that. I don't feel like banter. You want to go straight into it?
Let's go straight into it.
Let's go straight into it.
We are going to talk about episodes 7, 8, and 9 of Season 3 in The Legend of Vox Machina. Episode 7 is titled Cloak and Dagger. In a flashback, Ripley's village is attacked by the Kerberos Assembly, killing her father. Scanlan arrives in Nicodranus only to discover Kaylee and the troop have already left. Percy deduces Ripley's location, and despite knowing it is a trap, Vox Machina fly to the island of Glintshore to ambush her. Percy tells Vex he wants to make their relationship public and that he is in love with her, shocking her. Distracted, she triggers a gas trap, causing all of the party to experience hallucinations of their worst fears, whilst Ripley sneaks in and takes Percy. Percy again rejects Ripley's offer to work together, causing a shootout between him and her henchmen. Pike, remembering Xerxes, rejects the Everlight's power and instead uses her own blood to revive Vox Machina at the cost of her energy. Percy subdues Ripley and Orthax, but decides to stop the cycle of vengeance by sparing her. Ripley, however, shoots and kills him before fleeing. Pike is unable to help, and a distraught Vex cradles his dead body. All right, Sean, what'd you think of episode 7?
First, one quick note, that's Cerberus Assembly.
Did I say Kerberos?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, sorry, I got that Latin hard C.
And that Tolkien hard C.
There you go.
To start, for me, I really liked seeing a good villain backstory.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it much more compelling television when you buy into like the motivations of the villain. And I thought this was great. I like that. Well, this might be just whoever wrote the wiki pages guess that it's the Cerberus Assembly. Maybe they're going off of some note of the logo on the robes or something, but I don't think they ever come out and say it's the Cerberus Assembly. They say it's mages.
I thought somebody said it's the assembly, but I might be wrong.
Mm.
I might have misremembered.
Yeah. But I remember walking away from that episode just being confused as to who they were. But that makes total sense if it's a Cerberus Assembly, because Ripley is supposed to be living in, oh gosh, I can remember the Dwendalian Empire, and I can remember Rexentrum, but I can't remember Wildmount. That's the name of the continent.
Oh, the continent, yeah.
Yeah, Ripley's from Wildmount, so it makes sense that it would then be the Cerberus Assembly for sure.
And technically, weren't the Briarwoods also from Wildmount?
Yes, they were.
And oh yeah, because what's her name? The Lady Briarwood was in the Cerberus Assembly.
Yeah, and she was chased away for her necromantic ideas. What else? Percy and Love reveal. They make their way to the island to go attack Ripley. Percy reveals his love for Vex, and it is denied, or not so much denied as not vocally reciprocated.
Yeah, which is there's kind of this funny mirror image of the occasion when they were retrieving the vestige from the tomb. That was the first vestige, right? The one that went to Vax ultimately. I can't remember what it's called.
The armor. Yeah,
the armor that went to Vax, because there's a death trap there that Percy triggered, right? That killed temporarily Vexalia.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of a funny, like, she's distracted on Percy's account, and then that triggers this other trap. So that's kind of funny little symmetry. Yeah.
Yeah, that leads us to the hallucination gas. And in the thralls of everybody's hallucinating terrible things, like their mother decomposing in front of them, Pike not having access to her deity anymore, like all of these different terrible things. And then Grog's terror is being stuck in a library. And the moment of levity is great when you have shit's going down with Percy in the warehouse. He's being shot at. Orthax is attacking him. And then you have a very funny Grog moment, which just kind of lightens the mood.
Screaming and punching a tree, right? Like,
yeah. There's too many words.
Yeah. That was great. Yeah, but the main drama of this episode is really the whole Ripley Percy confrontation with Orthax as this kind of figure kind of looming over everything. And you mentioned you like having Ripley with this motivation of, coming, seeing her village brutalized and her father killed and all these other people killed by the mages that attacked them, wanting to empower people with firearms to defend themselves. But then you get this kind of fantasy angle to it where everybody who is killed with these firearms, their soul is harvested by Orthax. It's like
Yeah.
you've got a motivation, you also have a smoke demon. So
Hmm.
there's, you're still an evil fantasy villainess.
Yeah, and that's the thing where like I'm talking about a good villain backstory. Like even a villain that has like a motivation that you agree with and can see makes sense. If only it wasn't for a demon consuming souls.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the big bummer. And then this episode ends with Percy being shot and actually dying. The big thing with that is it comes from a moment of growth for Percy where he's showing his humanity and his like ability to forgive, and then that's what kills him in the end is crazy.
Yeah, because he says something like, you deserve justice or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not vengeance, just justice. And I'm like, in this world, I think justice would be for her to be killed. Like, she's killed a lot of people. She's done a lot of terrible things, like to
Mm-hmm.
your family and you personally. Like, I think you would be justified in killing her, especially if, like, by killing her, you prevent many other people from being killed with these firearms. So I know it was supposed to be a moment of growth, but I'm like, on the other hand, like, sometimes justice is, you know, punishing a very bad person for doing a lot of very bad things.
Yeah, especially when you have countless, like you said, souls that are all going to be now consumed in the hells because of
Yeah,
your actions. Yeah.
yeah.
Anything else in
So
episode
just
7?
just so we end with Percy being shot and killed, and I think this is roughly how it goes in the live play, right? He dies on Glintshore, and I just don't recall if he was resurrected before the plot moves forward or if it takes a while.
I think it's pretty immediate because after this, and I mean, no spoilers for the actual show because we don't know with all of the changes how it's actually going to go. But in the campaign, they kill Ripley by banishing her and then waiting, like everybody just kind of preps. And then the moment they release the banishment, Ripley comes back and they all just unload on her. I can't remember if that happens on the island, and I can't remember if Percy's there for it. I'm assuming he is, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, because
It's so hard to tell with all of the little changes between everything.
yeah,
And it's a campaign that we haven't watched. I mean, I personally haven't watched these episodes of the live stream in 8 years.
yeah. I mean, we're
It's
talking about something that came out almost 10 years ago.
yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is they've all, I think every character has died at some point and been brought back,
Hmm.
right? And I think some people have died twice. Like I think Percy has died twice.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, got to hit him with Revivify, and then other times it had to be an actual like resurrection spell. Because I think they tried to do this might have been one of the first instances of the like Matt Mercer's resurrection ritual where everybody has to make a check and contribute something,
Hmm.
right? I think that was the case. Like I think everybody had to kind of chip in.
And then it gets harder and harder every time you have to be resurrected.
Yes, yeah, and that's the wrinkle. But either way, I mean, still, even for people who know, roughly speaking, what happens in the story because we've seen the live play, it was still a pretty dramatic moment to see him shot
Hmm.
and see him die and to, see the,
Pike not be able to bring him back.
yeah, yeah, and the impact it has on Vex. Yeah, it was good stuff.
All right, episode 8. Hit me with the recap.
All right, episode 8 is titled The Siege of Amon. In a flashback, Vox Machina break into a prison for a bounty, only to discover the prisoner is already dead. They encounter an imprisoned Percy and decide to free him. In the present, a funeral is held for Percy. An unaware Scanlan arrives back and is horrified to learn that what he missed. Vex mourns, believing Percy died without knowing she loved him back. Vex and Keyleth reconcile and spend the night together. Raishan arrives back in Whitestone, still wishing to work with them despite the end of their deal, and reveals that Thordak is the dragon who killed Elena, the mother of the twins. The council agree to this, and they part ways to recruit prior allies such as Zara, Kashaw, Earthbreaker Groon, the Fire Ashari, and the Elves of Singorn, where Vex stands up to her father. The army is met with little resistance, but Vox Machina discover that the back entrance has been sealed, and Raishan has betrayed them. Thordak bursts from the ground and begins attacking the main forces. All right, so that summary could have been written a little bit better, but I think we get the overall gist of the episode. Sean, what'd you think?
Yeah, I really feel for Scanlan initially because he's kind of in a place where it seems like he can't get anything right. He just constantly, whatever decision he makes has negative consequences. So I feel for him. And I think that was a great character choice for Scanlan because, like we've said in past episodes, they've kind of gone away from Scanlan's drug dependency on spice, and they've focused more on like that dramatic piece of him being a father and a friend and like balancing all of that. So I thought that was a better choice. And then the other big thing in this episode is just the cool assembling of an army and being able to see all of the different designs of the different factions. And that's one of the cool things about Critical Role across all three campaigns, really, having the interconnectivity of all of the different storylines, characters, campaigns. It's all very cool. And then to be able to see it even in this one series, this is 3 seasons worth of characters all coming together. Just great. I loved it.
Yeah, it was fun. I think you also had this great moment with Vex and her father, really kind of mending. I don't know if mending that relationship, but deepening that relationship, because we don't get a ton with Vex and her dad, and I don't think the elves of Singorn were involved in the live play, were they? Like they
I
go
don't
to,
think, yeah, I don't think they were.
yeah,
But like you said, it develops that relationship a little bit more. And if it doesn't deepen their connection, it at least allows Vex and her dad to have a better understanding of each other. Yeah.
And then the other thing, and I mentioned this in the run up to our hitting the record button, but I thought that the plan of them kind of walking directly into the dragon's lair with this gigantic army was a little weak. And I don't know if the idea is that this reflects kind of Rayshawn's influence on them and like kind of lulling them into this sense of, oh, well, there's a back entrance. And so if you go in the front as like a distraction, it'll be fine. But some of it reminded me of the first couple episodes of season 1, where you had, of course, now I can't remember the name of the blue dragon who was like destroying the army of
Oh, God.
Caldore.
Yeah. General
Krieg was the
Krieg.
human version, but I can't remember if he had a dragon name or not.
I'm sure he does, but I don't remember it.
Brimscythe.
Brimscythe. Good pull. Good pull.
Yeah. I was like, okay, so like this army's just walking into an area where they know is like this gigantic, magically empowered red dragon plus his entire brood of like lava monster dragons. It seemed a little like they had the semblance of a plan, but I don't know.
I guess my only thought was maybe they felt more secure having like an army behind them.
Yeah.
And to me, the plan is they're not necessarily just going in blind. They're saying the army is the distraction. Give us time. We're going to go kill the eggs. And then that plan gets blown up. But that's what I want to. We talked a little bit before we hit record. What was Raishan's intent? Was Raishan's intent to betray Vox Machina and like tell Thordak about their plan so Thordak could close up the back entrance? Or did something go wrong and Thordak just kind of figured it out? It was confusing to me and not very straightforward. You had a bit better of a explanation than I could think of.
Right, so I think either way, Thordak closed up that rear entrance on Rayshon's advice. I don't think Rayshon said specifically Vox Machina is coming here. They're going to sneak in through this back entrance and destroy your eggs and then kill you. I think it was just like a general, hey, this is an entrance that should be sealed up. I think Rayshon's overall motivation is she wants Thordak dead. She knows she can't do it herself. So she is manipulating Vox Machina into helping her. And the reason that she facilitated the plan kind of going awry is that she doesn't want a fully powered united Vox Machina and all of this army fully intact, able to support the killing of Thordak, because that would leave the remnants too powerful to for her to take on. So she needs the attacking army decimated. She needs Vox Machina split up and weak, but still able to take down Thordak, maybe with her help, leaving them at the end of that fight vulnerable to, to exploit. And we see what happens at the end of this episode, or excuse me, at the end of the
At the
next
end of it,
episode.
yeah, the next one. Well, let's get to the next one.
All right, so episode 9 is titled Thordak. Thordak begins his attack on the army while Vox Machina splits up to help them and destroy the eggs at Grog's suggestion. Vex and Vax lead a small horde of dragons away from the nest, giving Scanlan and Grog the chance to infiltrate it before they head back to assist their allies. In the ensuing fight, Thordak kills Kashaw, devastating Zara. Upon arriving at the nest, Scanlan goads Grog into smashing the eggs. Thordak senses this and returns to the nest, only to discover the remains of his offspring killed while Scanlan and Grog barely escape, during which the former is knocked unconscious. Thordak prepares to kill Vox Machina as revenge for destroying his offspring, but Pike manages to absorb his fire breath after overcoming her insecurities about herself and repels it back at him, destroying the crystal on his chest in the process. However, Thordak survives just as Rayshon arrives, seeming to aid him. But in the surprising turn of events, Rayshon betrays Thordak and attacks him as revenge for not keeping his promise. Thordak attempts to flee, but Vax, remembering his mother's words, flies up into the air and ultimately kills him by flying through his heart. In the aftermath, Keyleth reluctantly thanks Rayshon for her aid in killing Thordak and the Conclave. However, Rayshon reveals her true intentions to Vox Machina and disappears with Thordak's corpse. Does she actually reveal her true intentions? Do we get like a "this is my evil plan," or do we?
No, I think it's true intentions as of they were all part of her plan.
Yeah,
I don't. She doesn't reveal like, hey, this is what I'm going to go do. But
yeah,
I think she's betraying them is the big one.
Okay.
My big points in this one. The first one, when they're trying to figure out what to do, looking down at the army being all destroyed and they can't come up with a good plan. The humor again of Grog coming through and like blacking out because he does come up with a good plan. They're like, oh shit, that was a good idea, Grog. And he goes, wait, what happened? I kind of blacked out for a second. Again, perfect comedic timing for that character. Him and Scanlan both just, the writers knock it out of the park.
Agreed.
In the fight itself, most of the army just gets wrecked between Thordak's elemental fire burst just destroying people, and then the wormlings. You know how many heads they show getting like bitten off?
Oh yeah, everybody's getting skull crushed.
Yeah, there's at least 6 where you see a wormling eat somebody's head. But the coolest thing in all of that fighting was Earthbreaker Grund like suplexing a worm. Do you remember that scene?
Oh yeah, it was great. Earthbreaker Grun's a cool guy. I mean, he's fun.
Love the character. And spoiler alert, in future campaigns, Earthbreaker Grund comes back.
Oh.
Most notably in campaign 3, which means he would be incredibly old if he's already old in Vox Machina.
Well, he's a monk, right?
He is.
So you get the
blind, like octogenarian monk.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called, but it's like diamond cell for basically you're immortal.
Yeah.
Like I can't remember what the term was. I was a monk in the 3rd edition.
Yeah, monk has it, and then the druids also hit a point of immortality as well.
Yeah, but I mean, this episode had a couple of this episode was pretty heavy. We had 2 named characters seemingly dead. I mean, it said that Scanlan is just knocked unconscious, but he looked dead to me. Or excuse me, he's like coma level, and he's not just knocked out.
He's not waking up. Yeah.
Yeah. But then you had a brutal death of Kashaw, which did not happen in the live play. I don't even think Kashaw and Zara were at this fight. I think you had, who is that guy that, oh my God, Patrick Rothfuss played him. Do you remember this? He was like a
Oh,
paladin.
his dwarf.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but he was a dwarf. Yeah, and he really connected with Keyleth.
Yeah, they had that
In
great,
these scenes. Yeah,
that pass through fire.
about
Yeah,
leadership
yeah.
and that. Yeah, Kashaw dying was crazy in the campaign. I mean, we were talking before. You remembered that Kashaw makes it to the end of the campaign.
Yeah. Yeah, the
And
live
beyond.
play. Both he and Zara survive.
And the way he dies is rough. Like not even being consumed by fire, he gets squashed.
Squashed. I did really like the him like standing up
Yeah.
and then like looking back down at his crushed body and then realizing, oh, I'm dead. And then you had that great shot with the, do they call her the Lady of Ravens in the show? I can't remember. It's a
Matron.
matron of Ravens. Yeah, like coming down and pulling. And I think it's implied that only Vax can see that, right? Yeah.
Because he's in tune with her. Yeah.
Yeah. That was cool. I hated to see Kashaw die. I'm not 100% convinced that he won't come back at some point, but
Yeah, that's the beauty of Dungeons and Dragons. There's usually a way to bring somebody back from the dead if it fits the story and if it makes sense.
yeah.
I hope as well that Kashaw comes back because his character is great. Just a big fan.
Yeah. Did you do you remember those episodes of the Slayer's Take? Like the mini arc of the Slayer's Take? Because that was the introduction of Kashaw and Zara, but then also you had Will Wheaton's character, right? And
I barely remember that
no,
mini story.
yeah. So was that also when, of course, now I can't remember her name. Oh my God, what's her name? The woman who started Geek and Sundry.
Felicia Day.
Yeah, was she in the she was a guest star in some of those early episodes. I don't remember if she was on that multi-part Slayer's Take.
Yeah, I don't know. But when you have the leader of Geek and Sundry on your campaign, it's also really weird and strange to remember that now that Critical Role's gotten so big and they have like their own app now, Pocket Beacon, like they used to be on somebody else's channel as just like hey, we have this new show called Critical Role on Geek and
Oh
Sundry.
yeah, no,
and now they've blown up into like this
they have
conglomerate.
Yeah, they have their own company. They're publishing books. They're coming out with their own RPG. They have like multiple shows running concurrently. Yeah, it's crazy.
Where's Geek and Sundry now?
Are they still doing stuff?
I have no idea.
I know Felicia Day was like hosting that Amazon Prime podcast, shilling for Rings of Power, unfortunately.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. Like when Critical Role left Geek and Sundry, I quit paying attention to their channel entirely.
Mm-hmm.
And then once Pocket Beacon came out, I got rid of Twitch. So
oh yeah,
I'm like full Critical Role Pocket Beacon. They're getting all my money.
I mean, it's so easy to give your money directly to the creators, right? You don't need all these middle. At first, you need the services, but with Kickstarter and Patreon, and somebody gets so big they can just do their own platform. Who cares? Mm-hmm. That all being said, Felicia Day's character in the Slayer's Take arc was phenomenal. I still think it's some of the best comedy, especially in the early Vox Machina. Her dynamic with Scanlan was phenomenal. She played a great character, and yeah. Anyway, so those. I say all that as just to say that Cash was kind of this just random guest character who came back multiple times over the course of the series, including the great finale, and survived. So to see him die here, it was like, oh, that's Will Friedle.
But in that too, you have this like huge climactic fight against an ancient elemental infused red dragon. And you can't just have I think, what did I say? Only the red shirts die. Like there has to be like some stake to the game or the episode. And you do have in this episode, so Cash dies and then Scanlan seemingly at least is beat to shit and not waking up and not able to be revived by Pike again.
Yeah, so the Pike stuff is interesting because they're really emphasizing this lack of
Lack of
connection.
deity. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think back to the live play where so much of Pike's characterization was based on the fact that Ashley like wasn't around because of blind spot and everything, right? Like
Hmm.
it was just, the culmination of the Briarwood stuff. She was like literally remote projecting herself there because technically speaking, her character was in Vasselheim, right?
Through the power of the Everlight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point because it seems like since this entire season, and maybe even before, she's had this very tenuous connection, and she's supposed to be like the chosen of the Everlight. So I mean, maybe we're setting up for this reconnection, but at the end of this episode, the only way that she mastered the power of the armor was by throwing down her emblem, right?
Hmm. And even going back to 2 episodes ago, she's able to get rid of the hallucination effect by putting her own blood on the foreheads of her companions.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't understand the D&D logic behind that. But yeah, I who knows. There's a very obvious separation from her and her deity. So we'll see where
Yeah.
that goes. But very cool the absorbing
Oh yeah,
of
no, that was great. I was like,
Sword
and
X Fire.
And you kind of knew because that was the third time that it happened, right? Like the first two times she kind of like flies everywhere and
Hmm.
it's ineffective as a weapon. It's like you kind of knew what it was building toward. I just thought they were going to build it toward like it was the power of the Everlight that like gave her the ability to stand there, absorb the fire, and then like shoot back, not abandoning the Everlight, which
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, again, this is nothing against Ashley Johnson, but Pike, like the subsequent Ashley Johnson characters, I think were a little bit more interesting than Pike, primarily because so much of the adventure she wasn't there.
Yeah.
And like so they kind of need to do something with her that like there wasn't there in the live play because there really wasn't much of a dramatic storyline for Pike with the exception of her family who it doesn't seem like we're building toward them at all. There's like a 2 or 3 episode arc where the Trickfoot show up and they have to deal with
They
that.
they go to Wilhelm. But that all happened when they fought Umbrasyl.
Yeah, and I think that did happen in the live play.
Yeah,
But
but
that
not in
was
the show.
Oh, they didn't do Will Hand in the show?
I don't remember seeing Wilhand.
I thought they
Maybe
did.
they did. Dude, even that's been like years now. So I gotta
I
go back and
know,
watch
I
that
know.
shit now.
It's there's too much fantasy stuff.
Too much. Wrapping up episode 9. A couple more points. My last note is just another joke. Grog, Scanlan, when they go fight the eggs, Grog has the dilemma of killing basically babies. So these little dragons and their eggs that can't defend themselves. And then Scanlan slaps him and says, "Make me some omelets." And then that puts him into a rage because he smacks Grog so hard. And then they get that comedic reverberation of the slap through the chamber. But when you realize how many little wormlings and baby dragons they actually killed, it's insane. Because they show that first initial sequence of Grog with his axe, like smashing, oh god, it's like probably 6 or 7 eggs, and then one hatches and then like squeals, and then
Yeah,
Thordak
yeah,
comes.
yeah.
And when that happens, they pan around and you see like another 30 wormlings. So like in what, a minute of the episode, they go through and just slaughter the rest of the baby
Well,
dragons. Yeah.
and that's where it's like you got Scanlan, like keep your Scanlan's hand out and just start like smashing
Yeah, over and
with
over
the
again.
hand, right? Forget Mythcarver for a second. Do you remember the was it 1999 movie Godzilla with Matthew Broderick?
Oh, hell yeah, man.
Yeah, that was I'm glad that you do because that was a great movie. I mean, it's not a good movie, but Sam, 10-year-old Sam loved that movie.
I was 8, so I was like, hell yeah, this is great.
Yeah. But there's like kind of a similar thing with the eggs, right? Where like, oh, we have to destroy the eggs. Oh no, the eggs are hatching, and now we have to deal with the little monsters. And then like the dad comes back and gets pissed when he has like the finds the dead baby monster on the ground. Even that Godzilla was a little bit more sympathetic.
Hmm.
Yeah, great movie. featuring a collaboration between the now disgraced Sean Diddy Combs and Jimmy Page.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like one of the first times that Jimmy Page allowed his music to be sampled in a commercial product. Anyway, that was a slight transgression or digression.
Maybe that's a filler episode for while we wait for Andor.
Godzilla?
We do the 99 Godzilla with Matthew
Oh
Broderick.
my God. I'm sure there's a bunch of cool trivia. Let's see. How many people in that movie can we name?
I legit can only name Matthew Broderick.
Matthew.
I honestly don't think I've seen it since I was in my single digits age. So
Yeah.
it'll be very cool to go back and watch that if we end up doing that one.
Okay, so let me impress you then. Hank Azaria is the cameraman. Is a
Okay,
voice actor on The Simpsons.
I'm flashing back to that.
I think Anne Heche was the reporter.
That name doesn't even bring me a face.
She was the volcanologist in Volcano, starring Tommy Lee Jones.
Still
Another
nothing.
I think those movies came out like maybe
See,
back to back.
When it comes to my volcano movies, I'm a Dante's Peak guy and not really a Volcanoes guy.
Okay, yeah. See, Dante, I was flip. I was a Volcano guy, not really a Dante's Peak guy. Now, Dante's Peak, Pierce Brosnan, Linda Hamilton.
Oh, dude, people don't want to hear this from us until we actually cover those films.
Okay.
I would totally talk about Dante's Peak on this podcast. That is a nerdy thing.
Okay, so here's our trifecta: Godzilla, Volcano, and Dante's Peak.
Yeah.
Okay,
coming
fine.
soon
But
to a podcast near you.
One more name: Harry Shearer
In
was
Volcanoes or Godzilla?
in Godzilla. He was one of the anchors. He's also a Simpsons voice actor, and then he's been in some other stuff too. And then there was the guy who always looked like he was
Pooping?
no Newman from Seinfeld, but it wasn't Newman from Seinfeld. It's not Wayne Knight. It's a different guy. And then I'm trying to come up with the name of the French actor. What is his name?
Gerard Depardieu?
No. No. Oh my God. He was in Leon the Professional and Possible. What is his name?
I don't remember.
Anyway.
That was our episode of LG's
This is your source for Godzilla trivia.
If you were intrigued by any of that just meandering we went through, cool episodes possibly ahead.
Yeah. Check in here every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. Episodes will come out more regularly. All right. Sean, anything else to say before we call it a night?
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
We have the final 3 episodes of season 3 of Legend of Vox Machina relatively soon. And once Andor season 2 comes out, we will be covering those episodes one by one until season 2 is complete. That's it for us.
Bye, everybody.